Good morning, everybody. We are at Blackfoot Airport in Idaho, the home of the well-known YouTube bush pilot Jonas Mancinko, and we're going to try and emulate some of his adventures in Flightsim 2020 by taking the Zlin Shock Ultra on a little bit of sand dune hopping. Now, I must say that Jonas Mancinko is a proper pilot. He flies a proper aeroplane. He's built his aeroplane by hand. He knows every nut, bolt and squeak of his aircraft. I simply paid for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I'm not a proper pilot, and most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. So if you want to learn about flying, it's better to watch his videos than this one. But nevertheless, I thought it'd be fun just to see what he's at. One of the things I'm confused about with this Zlin Shock Ultra is that there's always this warning light on here, and we've got everything switched off at the moment, including the main battery, so there shouldn't be any light on at all. It's almost as if the aircraft wasn't finished properly. One day I'm going to try and sort that out, but in the meantime, let's get into action. So we'll turn the master battery on, which will give us some degree of instrumentation. We will switch the avionics on. We will switch our magnetos on and give the engine a bit of a twirl. There we go. We're away. Now hopefully we can just go forward from here, having filled up with fuel, and get ourselves up onto the runway. I'm hoping so anyway. Yep, here's a path out onto the runway. In case you're wondering, I'm not actually bothering with air traffic control or anything like this today for our purposes. I'm sure that Jonas would actually just take off from a piece of grass and save his tires, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use the runway if we can get round to it. We're still on the taxiway at the moment. Goodness me. There's a lot of taxiing around this airport. Oh, here we go. Oh, this looks like fun. Okay, I think we're on the main runway. We don't need a full runway, so we'll just open up the throttles and go. I'm not going to use any flaps or anything like that because the runway is so large and this aircraft really doesn't need it. It's just taken off on its own virtually. Now as soon as you leave Airport, first thing you notice is that there is a river immediately to your left. So there is in fact some sandbars there. We're not going to go up the river because the further you go up here, the narrower it becomes. The river actually flows, as they say, to the sea. And the way the river flows is south. But as you can see, there's a sandbar there ahead of us and another sandbar over there. But I don't think that the powers that be would be very happy with us playing sandbars just here on the other side of the freeway from the main airport. So we instead will follow the river down and see where it leads us. Let's just check our altimeter. We're just under 5,000 feet below sea level, and already we're travelling at about 150 kilometers per hour, which is say 70 miles an hour. This is not a particularly fast aircraft, but it's kind of perfect for sandbar hopping, which is why I've chosen it today. That and the fact that this is the aircraft that I flew up here from Nevada last week, so it makes a kind of chronological sense for it to be the aircraft we would choose today. Here's a sandbar already, but we're not going to use that one either. But instead we're going to fly down the Snake River and see what we can see. Here's another sandbar. So there's like plenty to play with around here. On the other hand, there are some big buildings and things, so we would really want to get out into the open a bit. But my guess is that Jonas and his friends probably of an evening don't go too far from their main base. So yeah, at a weekend or sometime like that, it would be quite possible to go further afield, but you think about it, it's an evening, say you just want to get in a few hours flying, you're probably not going to venture too far away from your base, because it's going to take you time to get wherever you need to be. Weekend though, a barbecue, something like that, well, it's more of an adventure to travel further. As you can see, this river really is snaky, and were we to follow it exactly, we need a different sort of sport plane, I think. Something more like an extra or the pitch special. Now the thing is that when Jonas and his chums actually aim for a sandbar, they don't immediately just settle on it, because you have to make sure that there aren't bits of driftwood or that it can't be uneven, it can't have extra sort of obstacles in it, because when you land on a sandbar, of course, you're risking your plane if there are obstacles. Anyway, this is quite a nice trip down the Snake River. Sandbars off from that island on the left, there's a nice long one there. More sandbars down here. But I'm kind of scoping them out because they all look very flat, but sometimes that can be deceptive, and you really need to double check. You can't always tell from a really high altitude whether your sandbar is going to be sloping or not. If it slopes too much and you try and land on it, the aircraft will tip over. Which isn't a particularly pleasant experience. You also need to check that what you're looking at is actually above water. Some of these bars are very, very close to the water's edge. And they can simply be like this one, is actually underwater. Whether it's underwater in real life or not, I don't know. But it's certainly underwater here. Anyway, you can see that there is plenty of scope for playing. In this area. That looks a little rough. Call them sandbars or gravel bars? I think they're gravel bars, aren't they? Now here's a sign of some difficulty. You've got mixed gravel. You see that slopes. So if you tried to land on that, you'd probably tip your plane over. It's got a slight slope on it, but it's probably okay. So we might try that one in a minute. This is beautiful scenery. Because the question always becomes, you know, why don't we land in some of this vast farmland? But farmers are not always pleased to have aircraft landing on their property. Depends what the crop is. Okay, so I think we're now probably leaving the territory which has the nice sandbars in it. So I'm going to turn around in a moment, head back up in the opposite direction, see if we can find a few places to land. Of course, once we've landed, we've also got to take off, so it's a two-way challenge. So we're going back up the river now, back in the direction that we came from, dropping our speed just a little. We're probably at about 60 or even 50 miles an hour, the sort of speed that in most aircraft you would be coming into land. maybe applying some flaps, but we're well within the limits of this aircraft. Bumpy down there to the right. I think we explored that on the way up here and don't really like the look of it. Probably thinking, oh God, he's a nervous flyer. Why doesn't he land and why doesn't he do something? Well, the reason isn't that if I do something I might kill myself, but rather if I do something and it goes terribly and horribly wrong, I might have to reset this simulator and do it all again. This gravel bar is underwater, so we're not going to attempt that. And part of this gravel bar is underwater as well. And it's very uneven. The object isn't to land everywhere and on every gravel bar because you find even Jonas and his friends don't do that. That looks quite good. There's quite a long piece there. Let's come round. For another look. Where's it gone? Right over there. Okay, well, we're down, so it proves that it can be done. Let's have a quick look around. Okay. Okay, we don't want to push ourselves into the water, so just push back a little bit. Of course, we would do this by hand. These aircraft are very light. Now we should be able to go around and line up. She goes. So we've got 1 degree of flaps. Go back into the cockpit. Have a look at our control panel. Somewhere in here is our main turbo switch. So we'll turn on our turbo, which will give us a little bit more power on takeoff, and let the power build up a little bit, actually into the red. We're up. Flaps down. And we're away. This aircraft's really very interesting because you can turn the turbo on and off, and it's Rotax engine that they've installed it with the turbo. The turbo is actually monitored by computers, so it provides you with the very best efficiency. It's not like you're having to work things out yourself. It's the same with the mixture. This aircraft in real life also handles the mixture for you. The turbo means that you can get actually fly at reasonably high altitude. I mean, nobody really would want to fly an aircraft like this particularly high, but high altitude is a possibility. I don't usually put the turbo on. I didn't all the way up from Nevada, mainly because I hadn't researched what it was, what it did, and how to use it. But recently I have done so. So anyway, that one definitely slopes, at least in the sim. Whether it does in real life, I've no idea. You can can see why it's called Snake River. Hey, we're pretending to be the pit special. Could probably get down on that bar to the right, but I'm not going to attempt it. Interesting bar down there, not much space. Don't really fancy it with my level of flying skills, but it's probably possible to get down there. Well, in case you didn't guess, we're heading back into Blackfoot and we're going to land in a moment at McCarthy, or is it McCarney Airport? Anyway, it's U0O, I believe. That's not a gravel bar, but it probably was at one time, or it's going to be. It's an interesting area, you could probably land on that quite easily. The reason that we're following the river is simply that I know if we do so, eventually the airport's going to pop into sight. He said, hopefully. Possibly be it over on the other side of this road. And today we're going to land on the grass because we've proven ourselves to be a bush pilot. We've landed on a gravel bar. So we're going to save our big wheels. Yeah, we're down. Now, one of the things I learned from Trent Palmer is when you're down, it's a good idea, bush plane, to immediately set your flaps to normal flight, because it saves you bumping up into the air again, should you just put on that extra little bit of speed. I've never been entirely certain why this airfield has so many flattened areas. I'm hoping this is the one that Jonas uses, because in his videos there seem to be many hangars. This is where we started, I believe, but it's not where we're going to park our aircraft. And now we can finish with our engines. Set the parking brake. Attempt to turn our turbo off. This little switch is a little bit difficult to get to. Well, thank you for coming along with me on this little adventure. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit different, or maybe it won't be tomorrow, but the next video is going to be a little bit different because I want to try and do something about the sound. As you can probably determine, you're getting good BBC broadcasting sound coming from this system, which is very nice, and I'm sure that every pilot, if they could achieve this, and also be able to reach various different stations for their flight, then they would love it. But unfortunately, this doesn't sound like somebody broadcasting from an aircraft, so we're going to try and fix that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember to like and share this video and to follow this channel wherever you may see it. Thank you very much for watching.